Good evening, everyone, and welcome to April's video blog post. My name is Cesar Rondina, a best-selling author and public speaker and educator. And tonight, it was really difficult to choose a topic to talk about because I got so many requests in emails. And to be quite honest with you, one really kind of stuck out. And that's really what brought me to the topic of tonight's blog post, how to have a commanding presence. And I received an email from a younger gentleman, actually just out of his teenage years, going into college. And his question was, people don't notice me. And I found that to be very interesting because I think we've all gone through stages in our lives when we go to a party or when we go to a business meeting. And for some reason, we just don't stand out in the crowd and we don't feel like anybody is noticing us. So I gave this a lot of thought, and I decided that would be a great topic to talk about. So tonight we're going to talk about how to have a commanding presence. Now, we've all been in these situations when we've gone to a business meeting and the president of the company happens to walk into the meeting, and automatically in your mind goes to attention. This person has a commanding presence when they walk into the room. It's also happened where, how many times have you been out to eat in a restaurant and you watch people walking in and out of the restaurant, being seated, leaving, more people coming and going, so on and so forth. But all of a sudden, it could be a man or a woman, someone walks into that room to be seated and just gets your attention. Now, a lot of times that could be because it's a handsome gentleman or a very beautiful woman. But it's more than just that. That's part of it. Because people by nature are very superficial. But that's only part of what gives a person a commanding presence when they walk into a room. Before I continue, though, I do want to mention that the next course I'm working on is how to become a better educator. And hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that'll be published on udemy.com. That's udemy.com, and the website's at the bottom of the screen. And it's a great course for educators, especially now with online learning being as popular as it is. A lot of good tips in there for educators. So I'll be making, obviously, a social media splash when that course is available. But for now, back to our topic of tonight. So a lot of it is superficial, a lot of it has to do with looks, but that's not all of it. Let me just give you some examples of what I'm talking about, and know that you don't have to like these people. It's not about whether you like them or dislike them. It's the presence that they command when they walk into a room. And some of them, I'm going to mention some past presidents like John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Very commanding personality. Same thing with Ronald Reagan. Whether you like them or not, President Donald Trump, President Barack Obama. They just had a commanding presence when they walked in the room. Now compare that presence to when President Biden walks into a room. And we're going to break this down further and talk about the reasons for this. But this is just not for men. This also applies to women who have a very commanding presence. Let's take Oprah Winfrey as an example. When that woman walks into a room, she just has a commanding presence. You may not like her as an actor. I think she is absolutely phenomenal. Whoopi Goldberg. I don't necessarily agree with her political views. But again, a very commanding presence. Again, think about what I'm saying here. We're not talking about whether you like or dislike someone. We're talking about the presence and the perception that they send out when they walk into a room. A couple of TV series people I could think of. Jeff Daniels from the series Newsroom, or Kiefer Sutherland from the series Designated Survivor. Here's a guy that was a mild and meek guy, and just as a turn of fate got thrown into the presidency of the United States. And you could see how his demeanor changed as the series continued. Now, granted, some of these people are actors, and this is what they have studied, this is what they know to do, but it proves that although some of this has to do with a person's basic personality, their innate behavior may not be one that is a commanding presence. But the fact that these people could portray it proves that anybody can learn to do it. So let's talk about what brings about a commanding presence, because that's kind of important. It's your appearance, how you look, how you dress, how you carry yourself as a person, how you walk into a room. Do you have a confident walk, or you just lackadaisically, walk through the room like everybody else in the world? When you speak, do you speak with confidence? All right? There was a movie, The Substitute, that was on years ago, and there was one phrase that I really loved from that movie, and I've used it multiple times, especially in my speaking engagements. And that saying goes like this: perception perceived is perception achieved. So what does that mean? And I've talked about this many times. That means I don't necessarily have to do anything. I don't necessarily have to be rich. I just have to make you think that I will or I am. I raised 3 kids, and people don't believe me when I tell them that I never once spanked any one of my children. Never once ever put a hand on any one of my children. I didn't have to, because I gave them the perception that I would. So all I had to make them believe is that I would, and therefore I never had to. Now, don't confuse that, while we're on the subject of our children, with putting fear. You don't want your children to fear you. You want them to respect your presence as their parent. You don't want them to fear you. You want them to respect you. So you don't need to command presence by inflicting fear on people. That's the wrong way to do it. So speak with confidence. Speak that you know what you're saying, and what you're saying is in actuality the truth and the facts. Period. End of story. Don't fumble with your words. If you got something to say to someone, say it. Say it firmly. Say it respectfully. Say it in a way that you mean it, so people know what they're up against. And the best example I could give you of that was, again, some of our past presidents. John F. Kennedy with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Again, President Reagan. When we watch these presidents speak, they had a commanding presence. You just automatically listened, not because they were the president, because you wanted to listen. And I'm not going to knock Joe Biden. I'm not going to throw him down the river like everybody else does. But he's a much more humble man, which is a great trait in a human being. Not necessarily so much as a president, because you have to have that commanding presence so other world leaders will take you seriously. Let's refer to the Ukraine issue for a minute. Trump had to deal with that, President Trump. All right? But President Putin just wasn't sure what President Trump would do. That commanding presence alone is what stopped President Putin from doing what he's doing now. He doesn't get that sense from Joe Biden, so he doesn't have that fear. So he comes out with threats, and we back down, rather than attack those threats head on. Now again, this is not talking about whether you like President Biden or not. All right? It's about a person that doesn't have that strong, commanding presence that other past leaders have. So therefore, someone strong like Vladimir Putin, not going to take them seriously, because their commanding presence is so strong and overbearing that it makes other people fear them. Make your point clear and concise. As people, we have a tendency, and it's normal, to kind of blabble around our words. If we have something to say, especially if we think it's bad news, especially to our significant other in life, we fumble around it. When you fumble around things and you don't make your point clear and concise, you cannot expect people to know and understand what your point is, yet alone take you seriously. So when you add all of these things up together, when we take a person's appearance, the way they present themselves, and how they walk, and how they talk, and how they dress, their level of self-confidence, that is the key right there. You have to portray a level of self-confidence in order to have any type of commanding presence in a room. Let's take the flip side of that for a minute. Let's take the class clown, the joker, the one who always does pranks and makes a whole room laugh. That person has a commanding presence for a completely different reason. But people are going to always look at that person as a joker, as a prankster. They're not going to necessarily take them seriously or as serious as they should at times. But yet that person still has a commanding presence. So regardless of your personality, you could have a commanding presence, and you could have people take notice of you when you walk into a room. But again, self-confidence is the key. I can't impress that enough, because if you don't have any confidence in yourself, you are not going to portray that confidence to others, and that's what others have to feel. Excuse me. Have you ever gone to a doctor? You go to one doctor and you just don't feel really confident about them. It could be their bedside manner. It could be numerous issues, numerous things. But you just don't have that sense of confidence. You go to another doctor and you just believe everything that doctor tells you because you just feel that commanding presence, and that doctor is portraying that sense of self-confidence. You pick up on that, and then you feel confident with them. And that was a trait, which is what I'm going to call it, that I had to learn very early in my medical career, being a paramedic. Because oftentimes people in the back of an ambulance first of all, they're deathly afraid because they don't feel good in what they're going through. And they don't know you from Adam. You haven't seen them every 3 months, every 6 months, once a year. You're a complete stranger to them. And now you're expecting them to trust you with their life. So you must, absolutely must, be able to portray self-confidence, have a commanding presence in the way to make that person feel comfortable. And like anything else, like any job, it's part of what you learn along the way. I had to learn it as a paramedic. You know, I've said this before. In my career, I took care of over 76,000 patients. Some lived, some died. Unfortunately, those are the facts of life. But I had to make those people, those ladies, those gentlemen, and especially children, feel my confidence in order to be confident in me and my skills that I could take care of them. This may not be as prevalent in your personal life as it is in your business life because your family gets to know you and you don't feel as if you have to put on any airs of personality or portray yourself in any particular way. But it's very important in your business life, especially if you want to get ahead at your job. And it's extremely important in politics. Let's not kid ourselves. We hear many congressmen, congresswomen, senators speak, and some we listen to. They have that commanding presence. Other ones we just kind of like, are you kidding me? Are you a joke? They don't have that commanding presence. So, these are the way to obtain it. And I'm just going to list them one more time. Self-confidence. That would be number one. You have to have self-confidence. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to be concise and make it sound like you know what you're saying. You have to be convincing. Bottom line. Okay, like tonight in this video blog post, I'm hoping that I'm coming across to you very convincing, that I know what I'm talking about, because I do know what I'm talking about. So hopefully that knowledge and that air of confidence I'm portraying to you as you view this. Not fumbling your words, knowing what you're saying, letting people know you're serious about what you're saying by impressing the importance of it and how strongly you believe in it. That's the other key. You can't expect people to believe in things that you come across that you don't believe in yourself. So when you put this all together, yes, you could be that person that stands out in the room. You could have that commanding presence, no matter what environment that you're in. As always, any comments and questions, please feel free to email me direct. My email address is on the bottom of the screen. I also invite you to visit my website. That is also at the bottom of the screen. A lot of good stuff there. You could also view all the books that I've read. And again, don't forget that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, my course on becoming a better educator will be out and published on udemy.com. And I price my courses very reasonable. And I'm proud to say I have many there in business and writing. So when that course comes out, if you're an educator and you want to take it, it'll be about an hour and a half long. Usually the presentations go in 5 modules, so you have time to take a break. And hopefully you'll get something out of it. But in the meantime, I want you all to stay safe, be happy, and be well. Thank you.